So do you have the need to secure some more funding? You've got an initiative, an idea that you want to secure some funding for, and you've been asked to prepare a business case, but you don't know where to start? Well, let's see if we can help. So firstly, what is a business case? Well, a business case is a structured document that sets out the problem or the opportunity. It considers various options, analyzes costs, benefits, and risks, and ultimately supports an investment decision. A business case is often used when we've got limited funding available, which all organisations do, and it can become a way of prioritising that funding. So we often have to prepare a business case if we want to secure some funding for our idea. So when we look at the structure of a business case, it tends to follow some very similar steps. And these can change a little depending on the organisation that you worked for, but there's generally 8 key steps that need to be considered when we're building a business case. Firstly, we need to develop the need or the case for the change. Why do we need a business case? Why should we even bother? Why is it a good idea? And we do that making sure that we've appropriately engaged with our stakeholders through the We then need to define outcome-focused objectives. So what are we actually trying to achieve with our business case? And this is often the solution to the need or the problem that we've identified in the first step. And during that step, we've also got to make sure that this aligns with a strategic priority for the organization. If it doesn't align with where we want to be heading, then we shouldn't be doing it. We then come to a really important part of the business case, and we then start considering what are some of the different ways, the different options, the different alternatives that we can achieve those objectives and overcome that initial problem. And then how do we then prioritize those? Well, we do that through a cost benefit analysis. And this is the bit that gets a little bit more technical within the business case. We consider all of the benefits and all of the costs associated with the case. We'll also be considering some of the risks that are involved with that. And then which look like the best options to proceed with. And from there, we will consider a risk analysis, and that really supports that cost benefit analysis. And then the final part that we're often looking at is the implementation plan. We need to make sure that we can appropriately implement or effectively implement our case. Otherwise, it's not such a great idea. But we're also putting into play here almost our project plan. This is where we'd be starting. This is where we'd be initiating the project with this particular part of the document. So there's some of the key steps in terms of developing a business case. And then the business case itself usually goes through a set of review gates. Now, these can vary depending on the size and the complexity of your case and the organisation, but certainly for a reasonably sizable case, you'd often start off with an initial concept. Now, the idea of these gates is to make sure that we're on the right track and we have support before we invest too much more resource in developing the case. So the initial concept is a fairly high-level document. Is the idea, are we on board with it? Should we support that as an organisation? And then we can go forward to a slightly more detailed case, what we may be referred to as a strategic case. So at this point where it's still a little bit higher level, but it's now getting into the depth of fully understanding the objectives, understanding the need, understanding the different alternatives that we've got and the options. And we'll do a cost benefit analysis at this stage to try to think which look like the most plausible options. And from there on, we get approval to proceed. We would then proceed to the detailed business case. And this can often be the bit that's more the initiation document for our business case and for our project if this is approved. By this stage, we're focusing on one of the key options in terms of what we want to proceed with, what's the best way of moving forward. And we want to make sure, again, that initiation document, the project plan is all in place. And then we kick off the project. And from there on, we may have more gates, but we should at least have a gate that's the implementation phase of the project to how do we monitor and control that we're going to be effective. And at the end of it all, how are we going to effectively evaluate the project? How do we make sure that we achieved the outcomes that we set out to try and achieve? If you would like more information on how to develop a business case, follow the link to our online course. The course will include all key aspects you need to consider in developing your business case. Each step is supported by a short video and there are activities included for you to apply the concepts to your environment. There is also a template provided for you so that you begin to prepare your case through the program. You will then find additional detail on each of the key steps that you need to go through in terms of developing your case, and then some summary information on how to present the case, and wrapping up by some key takeaways and tips to try to ensure that you're successful with your case.